All right, awesome. So today we are going to be going over how do you actually put the indicators on your chart. Because one thing that I personally love about IM Academy is that everything is literally done for you. That's the joy in it. It's less brain power. You don't have to go through the indicators. You don't have to click the settings. You don't have to do anything but log in, maybe add a horizontal line or two or three or four, right? Depending on what you're going for, how you're analyzing the market. But when you understand the indicators that are on the chart and you find the ones that you like, you can really create your own strategy. And that's just really like, I don't know, like the golden key to information and the really golden key to life. So we are going to start on Go Liberty, right? We're just going to start on Go Liberty today, or whichever platform you're going to be using to mark up your charts. But I'm going to be using the Liberty Scanner, right? Because I'm going to take a strategy apart and then we're going to put it back together to understand like how these things actually work to make things flow, right? So when I'm doing like naked scanner trainings, I just like to break down the three definitions that you probably hear a lot on trainings that you really need to know the most. And those definitions are indicator, strategy, and confirmations. Because people use them interchangeably, but they really shouldn't be used interchangeably. They should just be used for what they are, so that you understand how you're going about your analysis. So the first definition is indicator. And I'll write this on the screen as well so that you guys can screenshot if you're on your phone, or you can take a picture. So we're going to go with indicator, right? And the indicator is just an online tool, right? It's an online tool that helps you track price. That's it. That's all the indicator is. It's an online tool that helps you track price. And there are actually hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of indicators. But the ones that we typically see the most, we see about 6, 7, 8. There are literally hundreds of indicators, but we only use about 8 if you use IM Academy and the strategies that are preset here. So the indicator is an online tool that helps you track the price. And a strategy is, right, is 2 or more, right? 2 or more online tools, right, that help you track price. And then the last definition is confirmation, right? And confirmation, I don't really know what to type for this, but you're pretty much are making sure that the indicators that you have align with the analysis that you're seeking, right? And I'll write that down, right? The indicators that you have align with the analysis you are seeking, right? So let me just turn this black and make this small. So you guys can, let me make this a little bit smaller so that it fits. So you guys can take a screenshot of that or write it down or take a picture. And when you get it, just drop a 2 in the chat so that I can actually break down the indicators that we see often. And then how do we choose the indicators that we actually want to look at. All right. I'll give you guys about 30 more seconds just to make sure you get these notes down. Okay. I need about 5 more tools and we're going to move forward. Okay. Okay. So hopefully you guys got that. All right. Thank you. Hopefully you guys got it. And yeah. So pretty much as we work through these strategies, I'm just going to go over the common indicators that you'll see on more than one strategy so that as you understand these indicators, you'll understand different strategies use the same indicators, right? And what they actually do. Because indicators fall into categories. And that's something that you guys can write down as well, since we're going to work through the definitions, right? We're going to start with the naked chart. And then you guys can go crazy, right? For the rest of the day, over the weekend, play with the indicators and figure out what do you understand? What do you like looking at? And you're not forced to use something that doesn't fit how you're learning, if that makes sense. So indicators fall into categories, and typically these categories will be trend, right? So you have trend indicators, which tell you is price above the trend right now, is price below the trend right now. And examples of these trend indicators would be, can we practice marking up the charts when the market is closed? Yeah, absolutely. You definitely can, right? You definitely can. Because the market is always going to be revisiting the same entry points. So even if your analysis is from the past, you can do pending orders for FRX or HFX. So when the market does hit that point, wherever you have the confirmations on your analysis, you can still plug it in and it'll trigger eventually, especially if the market is not open. What was I saying? Okay, so there are trend indicators, right, which are the most common. For example, these little, let me just make this a little darker. I typically just call them the purple dots, right? And that's because a lot of these indicators are really a mouthful, but I'm really just going to say everything today so that y'all can understand. So these purple dots are an example of a trend indicator. It's called the parabolic SAR. So that's P-A-R-A-B-O-L-I-C, parabolic SAR, S-A-R. And if you don't know, just look it up, right? And this is an example of a trend indicator. Because typically when I give you guys the trigger words, I'm saying, okay, is the candle above or below the purple dot, right? So essentially we're asking, is price above or below trend? Right now I'm using the Liberty scanner. And the strategy that I'm currently on is the Simple Scalper Original. But I'm going to go over all the indicators on every strategy, and then I'm going to take all the indicators off and put them back on after we understand what they do. So the parabolic SAR is a trend indicator. And this is just an example. So under trend, you can write parabolic SAR, and you can just say this is letting you know if price is above or below trend. So let's just look at some very quick examples right here. So we see the parabolic SARs are down here. And then we also see we have blue candles, right? So we can assess that if the candles are above the dots, price must be above trend and it's going to continue to go up. If that makes sense, drop an MS in the chat. And then vice versa with the sell candles, right? We see that we have a red candle falling under, right? Falling under the dots, telling us that price is below trend and it may continue to drop. So even if I zoom out, just so we understand the parabolic SAR as a trend indicator, right? Even as I zoom out, just look at the candles where they are in relation to the SAR, right? And that'll always help you figure out, all right, which way should I be going? So let's just say you're starting to collect those sell confirmations. You see that price is below the trend, right? Look what happened. It actually continued to drop. Is it always that exact? Yeah, it really is, because it's telling you about the overall trend. So although it's going to pop up on the current candle, is essentially telling you like where the trend is going. So sometimes you'll have something like this, for example, right? You see we have a parabolic SAR above the blue candle, right? So essentially, if we were counting these confirmations, we would say one for the buy for the blue candle, one for the sell. But then if we would have waited to the very next candle, right? Now look, we had the indicators we needed, the blue candle, the blue volume bar, the line facing up, the line facing up. But the only thing we didn't have was the SAR. Now, if we would have waited, right, for the SAR to switch on the next candle, we would have 5 confirmations and we would have been able to ride this trend all the way up because the market was 100% confirmed to go that way. Does that make sense, Mindy? Or anybody? If that makes sense, y'all drop MS in the chat. Okay, now, and if this was a Forex trade as well, if we did have all the indicators, just based on the SAR would have told us that the trend has officially changed and it's going to go up. And look how long it actually went up. And these are hours, right? This is an hour chart. Once you see the SAR, because it's a trend indicator, it's a very strong indication of price, right? Now, I've studied so many different indicators and so many different things about price that I've completely stripped away everything you guys don't need. And I figured out what's the strongest trend indicator? What's the strongest momentum indicator? And that's why we ask 5 basic questions, right? What color is the current candle, right? Is the candle above or below? So that we don't have to stress about what's happening because it's actually quite simple, right? I want you to understand it in depth, but it's actually quite simple. So again, if we would have waited for the parabolic SAR to align on this candle and we would have got into this trade, right? And literally stayed in, right? stayed in because the SAR was under and we had a lot of confirmations going all the way up. If we would have stayed in, right, that's a 777. Lucky 777. I think it does say that. So we would have got a good 77 pips, right? So that could have been $77. That could have been 7,700, depending on how much you risk, right? You could have really made a lot of money just by sticking with the trend. Now, another trend indicator, and I'll just zoom out so that you guys can see it. Oh, and since we went over the SAR, I'm going to delete it off the chart. Since we already went over the SAR, I'm going to delete it off the chart. Oh, I got to zoom in, right? Because we're really working backwards here to see how all these indicators actually play into price. And we can focus on one candle for the whole time. Let's see. So I'm going to delete the SAR. Because you can actually delete indicators and also place them on your chart as well. All right, there we go. So the SAR is off, but we can still see how this blue candle let the market go up. Now, another trend indicator right here that you'll see on a lot of charts is, right, you see your EMA. And the EMA stands for exponential. It stands for exponential moving average. Right? Now, this is also going to tell you about the trend. Right? Now, typically, I don't really tell you guys to ask questions about this line, but as you understand more, it'll help you. Because if the candles are, again, if it's a trend indicator, if the candles are above, that's confirmation for a buy. If the candles are below, that's confirmation for a sell, right? Now, I'm just going to zoom out so you guys can see this purple line. And we can see that even though we did have a few blue candles, right, in between here, for the most part, the candles were under this purple line, telling us that even though we may have these little pushbacks or areas of resistance, this market is mainly selling, right? It's actually mainly selling because it's under the purple line, right? EMA stands for exponential moving average. And this one is, I believe if you click on it, it'll tell you the inputs. It's the 200 moving average. So that means that for every 200 candles, that's the average place that price was at. So it's a very important indicator, but you can change it to 50, right? And see where price was at for the last 50 candles. And we can see it was still under the trend, but it started to come up recently, right? We can see that it started to come up recently, or you can change it to even 10, right? Oh, that's the Bollinger Bands. You can even change it to this number to whatever you want. Where was price at for the last 10 candles? Where was price at for the last 25 candles? And that's where actually Web Slinger comes into play, because Web Slinger is composed of a bunch of different EMAs telling you a bunch of different averages, right? So now, if you guys understand like just two examples of trend indicators and what they tell you about the price, if price is above that trend indicator, that's a confirmation for a buy. If price is below that indicator, that's a confirmation for a sell. All right, so just drop an MS if that makes sense. All right, awesome. So we're also going to delete that one off our chart as well. All right, guys, give me 1 second, 1 second. All right, sorry, y'all. I had to go get my breakfast. But okay, so another common indicator that we see is the Bollinger Bands. And the Bollinger Bands are these three lines right here. If you click on it, you'll see that all three lines will actually be highlighted. So the top line is red because it's letting you know that whenever price gets to that area, the market starts to reject and resist and it comes back down. And then you have the blue Bollinger Band, right? Because it's a set. You'll see that whenever price gets close to this line or it passes it, right, it drops below this line. That's just the indication that the market is about to turn around. So essentially the Bollinger Band really acts as a built-in support and resistance. And it's a double confirmation, right? This middle Bollinger Band is essentially another average, right? It's another average. So again, if you see the blue candle forming above not only the blue Bollinger Band, but the middle line, that's a surefire way that the market is going to continue to buy, because not only is it close to its support, no, these are trend indicators. We're still on trend. So you guys know we're still on trend indicators, right? So far we did parabolic SAR, EMA, and Bollinger Bands. So the Bollinger Bands are going to, it's literally act like, think Bollinger Bands, think rubber bands. If it touches the blue line, it's going to come back up, right? This is the ceiling, this is the floor. And typically, or think about it, this is the analogy I used to give when teaching Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands, think about it as the candles are cars, right? And the Bollinger Bands are the sides of the road, right? Now, if a car starts to drift, it's going to have to readjust to come back to the middle of the road, right? It's always trying to come back to the middle. So think about the middle line as the middle of the road. So we can see that the cars were drifting, right? Hit the side of the road, had to come back up. Same thing, drifting, came up, then had to come back down. So the red Bollinger Band will always tell you when price is about to reject and turn around. So even if you see a blue candle, right, you see it's approaching that Bollinger Band, you can kind of assess that the market is about to drop. And look at this example. It was approaching it, and then what happened? It dropped, right? We had all the confirmations on the very next candle. And sometimes the candles will surf the Bollinger Band, right? Because the price, it wants to continue to go higher and higher, but it can't do that for too long, right? It's going to auto adjust and come back to the middle. You can also think about just the middle Bollinger Band as like a magnet, right? And the candles are always trying to be pulled back towards that magnet. If that makes sense, as far as the Bollinger Bands and using it to pretty much for reversals, or just the indication like, okay, this market is about to turn around. Maybe I should hold off on the sell, or this market is about to turn around. Maybe I should hold off on the buy. If that makes sense, right? Yes, Aaliyah, drop my MS in the chat. All right, good, right? Because what we're pretty much doing right now is just deconstructing, right? We're just deconstructing the things that we look at every single day and figuring out how does this actually make sense, right? And how does this actually make sense? So if I delete the Bollinger Bands, right? I'm gonna delete the Bollinger Bands. Let's look at this candle, how this candle has all the confirmations, but I'm now gonna delete the Bollinger Bands, right? And we can still see how the market was going up and then it rejected, right? We can see it didn't come all the way down because we have this, right? But we know that somewhere, every time price gets to around this area, is going to reject. We can now see that with our naked eye. Even if I zoom out, it's the same thing. Price gets to a certain level, it rejects, it comes down. It gets to a certain level, it rejects, right? It gets to a certain level, right? If you guys can see that pattern, drop some ones in the chat. When the candles stay in the middle of the Bollinger Band, does that indicate a consolidated market? Yes, exactly. That's why you would want to get your other confirmations that are telling you other things about the price, because the candles can be in a consolidation phase, but price can still be above the average trend, right? If that makes sense. So cool. We're getting it. We're deconstructing our chart. And even without the indicators, you guys should be able to see the reversals, right? You guys should be able to see the resistance and the support, even without any indicators, just because we're breaking it down like this, right? So now let's zoom in and let's look at what these volume bars are telling us, right? The volume bars are literally telling us who's in control of the market and how much power do they have to drive the market in that direction. So these three indicators are all about momentum, right? Now, how do you spot a momentum indicator? It'll always be a line, right? So it could be I think it's called the CCI, right? It can be the MACD, it can be the RSI, it can be the stochastic, it can be the anything. Anytime you see a line, just think momentum, right? Because the direction of that line tells you the direction of the market. And the color of that volume bar tells you how much power that side currently has to drive the market in that direction. So sometimes you'll see something like this. You'll see a small red candle and a small red bar. So if you see that little volume bar, right, even if you only saw this, no other indicators, you saw this small red candle and this small red bar, I would probably chill out, because even though the sellers seemingly have control, they don't have enough power to really continue to drop the market. And as you can see, we had a small reversal right there. Like, they did continue to push it down, but look, this candle has a much bigger volume bar than this candle. And we can see how the sellers were actually losing power right there. We can see how that was clearly a transition of power. And that's what the volume bars tell you, like the momentum of the current market. Now look at this, right? We see that the market was dropping, and we see that the momentum stayed consistent, right? It was pretty much consistent. So it was bound to continue to drop at the same rate per hour, right? If that makes sense, y'all, drop an MS in the chat. And the same thing over here, we can see that we had a blue candle with a blue volume bar. We had a blue candle with a blue volume bar. We had a blue candle with a blue volume bar, and it stayed pretty consistent, telling us price is going to probably continue to go up, right? And we had the other confirmations: blue candle, blue bar, line facing up, line facing up. And the momentum indicators, no matter what you add, I promise y'all, they will always be doing the same thing. No matter what, they will always be doing the same thing. So even if we deleted this, and we deleted this, and we deleted this, right? We can still be able to look at this market and see areas of where is it going to reverse? Where is it going to buy? Where is it going to sell? And that's where your markups come from. And that's how these strategies even came about. That's how these strategies even came about, by different people figuring out how do they want to look at the market, what makes the most sense to them, what indicators are going to give them the strongest confirmations for the reversals that they're looking for. Because I say this all the time, as a trader, the only thing you're literally looking for are reversals, right? That's all you're looking for in the market. And if you can spot the reversals, because I've seen people mark up the charts like this. Let me just take it down to the 5 minute for a second. You can actually look at this and let's just spot a few reversals, right? You can take, let's just take this little paintbrush. Let's take a rectangle and let's just highlight all the areas that we actually see reversals. Let's just highlight all the areas that we actually can just see reversals with our naked eye, pretty much. And this is what helps you understand price, because this is nothing on your chart but what you can see. So areas where you see the market, we just going to use this little section, right? So we can really see every time, well, the market came down here, right? Oh, let me actually put another box as well. Let me put another box as well, just to make it make a little bit more sense. Give me 1 second. And I want to make this one, I'll just make it a darker green. What am I trying to do? All right. All right, I'm gonna do that. And then I'm going to do maybe that too. Okay, there we go. So pretty much these light green boxes are representing, we can see clear areas of where the market tested and retested at least 3 times. And that's something that you want to see when you're trying to figure out where you're actually going to buy or sell, no matter whether this is for a 1 minute trade, a 5 minute trade, a 15-minute trade, an hour-long trade, is really going to be up to you. So we can see that the market actually started down here. This dark green is just the area that it could go, but it hasn't done that consistently in recent times. So we see that it touched down here, and then it actually came up. It came up. It came all the way up here, right? And then it hit a cap, right? So we have a resistance right there, right? So we know that if the market hits this price, it hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? We probably would have cleared, right? 5 times on these 5-minute trades, because we see that every time the market got into that zone, it rejected it and came back down. And then we see that it came back down, it came back down, it came back down. And then when it got in this zone, right, it's no particular entry point, just whenever it got in this zone, the candles literally didn't want to do that. They wanted to go back up, right? And it rejected here until it just created a new zone. And that's what the green boxes are. It's just a different zone that the market could potentially move into, because you literally can see that it's done that before. But then it came back down, right, to the same support. And then you probably would have cleared a lot of these trades going up. And then it hit a new resistance, right? It actually broke past the old resistance and it hit a new resistance. And now we have a new zone, right? I can even put a line right there because the market was in this area for a while, right? Or I could come back down, right? So pretty much you can have a big pattern that's going on. So I'm going to clear these drawings. You can have a big pattern that's going on or a small pattern that's going on. But as long as you can spot that pattern, that's fine. Like you could have been looking at this pattern, right? Or you could have been even looking at a smaller one, like, well, it still kind of goes up, but it's a bigger pattern and a smaller pattern. I hope y'all can see that. Drop some ones if that makes sense. So it's really about being able to spot out those reversals, and you can do this as much or as little as you want. Like if I zoom out, you'll find even more areas and zones where price was rejected at. And if you feel like you need an exact entry price, once you put your boxes on your chart, now that's when you still go in and add your horizontal line, because it'll give you a price, right? We could put one right there because we see it sells there. We could put one right there because we see it sells there. And if it's helpful, you can just turn it red and be like, all right, that's a resistance area. That's a resistance area. You can put a line right here. You can say that's a support area. And this all goes into marking up your charts. Everybody won't do it the same way. So the same way that I came in here and put these boxes, Somebody could have just came in here. Like I work better with horizontal lines because again, I don't like my screen too crowded. But the same way that somebody would have put their boxes, somebody would have just put their lines. Somebody would have did both. Somebody would have did this on the 5 minute and the 1 minute time frame and the 15 just to see. This is the 5. Now let's do the same thing on the 1. Oh, we got another area right there too. Okay, now let's do this on the 1 to even find more entry points. Oh, but on the 1 minute, we can see our entry points on the 5 are still valid. Cool. If we wanted to look on the 15, all right, still valid. We know it's still pretty valid. We have a really high, we have a really low. So it just depends on how you're looking at it. So the next strategy, I'm just going to deconstruct really quickly, only because we didn't go over these indicators, but it's pretty simple, is web slinger, because again, it's just your web strings, which are 20 different moving, look, exponential moving average, y'all, EMA, right? EMA. That's all this is a bunch of different moving averages, right? So you can click on the web strings, that's they call it web strings, and then you could just, if we deleted that, we can still see, like, even with the cloud, if the candles are above the cloud, the trend is high, because this cloud is called, let's just call it the cloud, because I don't really feel like spelling it, but this cloud, if it's blue and the candles are above it, that means the market is buying. If it's red and the candles are below it, that means the market is selling. It's actually another trend indicator. It's a very strong trend indicator. Like, even if I zoom out, we can see how, look at it. Candles are either above the trend with the blue cloud or below the trend with the red cloud. If you guys can see that and that makes sense, just drop some 1s in the chat. I mean, drop some 2s in the chat if that makes sense. All right, cool. Now, even like now that we're looking at it like this, even if I was to delete the cloud, let's look at this, y'all. Even if I was to delete the cloud, we can still see areas, right? We can still see areas in the market where it was going up, it was above the trend, it was going down, it was below the trend, it was going up, it was going down, right? Because that's all the market does. And this pattern is actually called head and shoulders, right? This pattern is actually called head and shoulders. You'll always have 3 triangles, right? No matter how big or small this pattern is, you'll always have 3 triangles, right? The first triangle is the left shoulder, right? The middle triangle is the head, and the third triangle is the right shoulder. And just really depending on how big your trend is or where the market's at, you'll always be able to determine what is about to form or what is actually going to happen next. So yeah, we took everything off the chart. Now remember, we clicked the web slinger strategy, but we can rebuild any strategy that we want. So for the last 20 minutes or so, I'm just going to show you guys how to put, like, you can delete all the indicators off of your chart and then put the ones that you want back on your chart and save that as your own strategy. So let's just say we were looking at Euro JPY on the 5 minute. It's currently no indicators there, but let's just say, drop some indicators that you learned today that you understand that you can use moving forward. Everybody just drop 1 indicator that you liked from today that you can understand and use moving forward. All right, so the parabolic SAR, that's a very easy one. So we're going to start with that. So let's just say you delete everything off of your chart, right? We're going to use 3 simple ones. We're going to use the parabolic SAR. We're going to use the volume bar. Oh, y'all like the Bollinger Bands? All right, so we'll use the Bollinger Bands, the SAR, and the EMA, right? So what you would do right here, you click indicators. Look at all these indicators, y'all. We work with 8 indicators. Thank you. We work with 8 indicators on a daily basis, but look at all these indicators and different ways to look at the market. Look at this, y'all. Look at this. It's literally endless. It's endless. So you can figure out what works for you. So y'all said y'all like the parabolic SAR. You just type in SAR, and we're going to add the SAR to our chart. Right now, it starts off yellow. It starts off yellow. You can make it jiggy how you want. You just click on it. And I'm going to just change the style back to purple. That's just because that's what we're used to. Ooh, it's a little thick. And I'm going to make it dots, right? Because when I tell y'all, y'all can really get jiggy with these charts. It's crazy. It's crazy, right? So we got the SAR. Now, that's one indicator that we understand. Y'all also said y'all like the EMA. So what we're going to do, we're going to click indicators, and we're going to type in EMA. Guess what? It's going to come up, right? It's going to come up as moving average exponential, right? I'm going to click on that. Where is it? Yep. So we're going to click on that. And you have to make sure that you change the style. I'm going to just change the style to, again, purple because that's what we're used to seeing. And I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. All right. And I want to keep the line, right? So now we got our EMA, we got our parabolic star. And then y'all said y'all like the Bollinger Bands. So let's add Bollinger Bands, right? You can just rebuild whatever you like. We're going to add Bollinger Bands, right? And again, everything starts off, and this is why I Am Academy makes it easy because you don't have to program your indicators. Everything's already there for you. So we got red. I don't want this. I do want this. I do want, oops, no. I want this, this. See, y'all just better be grateful for what y'all got because nobody wants to sit here and program indicators. However you can, look at that. So we got the indicators that we like. Now let's see how can we assess the price, right? Let's just say if we were looking at this, let's bring it down to the 5 minute. So let's just say if we were looking at this, we would just ask ourselves the questions. What color is the current candle? Is blue? Is it above the EMA? Yes, it is. Is it above the SAR? Yes, it is. It's that easy. And now you just found a strategy that works for you. You like, all right, bet I'm going in for a buy right there, right? I'm going in for a buy right there because you have the strategy that works for you. So once you actually load the indicators that you like, you just click save, and then you can save it as HFX strategy, right? You can save it as HFX strategy 1. So now every time you log in, you can just load your strategy, click load chart layout. You load your strategy that you want to load up, right? Oh, that's invalid. You load whichever chart you want to load up. Let me go with Euro GBP markup. Right. Well, the markups aren't valid because it was a long time ago, but that's how you would load up the chart that you just did. Okay. So I'm going to load up my HFX strategy 1 and everything I just did will pop up. Now, all I have to do is change my currency pair to whatever I want my currency pair to be. Now, let's just say somebody don't like the Bollinger Bands or they don't like the EMA, but they like the parabolic star and the volume bars, and they can really get down with that. So let me delete all these things, right? So we got the parabolic SAR. I'm gonna click indicators and I'm gonna click volume. I'm gonna click the volume. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong one. It's just volume, right? So we're gonna click that. And the only thing, does the markup stay for different currency pairs? After you save it, it's gonna save with the currency pair that you save it with, but then you can change the currency. So again, change your volume bars to make sure everything's aligned. So now we got the blue with the blue, the red with the red. We're going to save it. And now this is an even more simple strategy. Do we see a blue candle? Yes. Is it above the dot? Yes. Is the bar blue? Yes. Take the trade. Like literally take the trade. Look at this one. We got a red candle, but it's below. I mean, it's above the dot, but it's a red bar. So we're going to wait or go to the 1 minute, right? And we got the confirmation on the 1 minute to get in for a buy on Euro JPY. I mean, you guys can test this out, right? You can test this out. You can delete your indicators or only use the indicators that you like. So say, for example, you do like Simple Scalper, but you realize that now you don't have to look at everything. You like Simple Scalper, so you can delete the EMA. You can delete the Bollinger Bands. And you may, now that you know that the stochastic and RSI do the same thing, this might be the only thing you want to look at. If you guys can understand that the most current candle is a clear sell, drop a 1 in the chat. So we took some indicators off of our chart. We modified our chart to make it work for us. Now, let's just say we love this. This is so easy. We're not looking at 2 lines. We're not looking at Bollinger Bands. We're not looking at EMA. Now, you just save it. And you would just save this as Simple Scalper Modified. Right? So now every time I log in, I should be able to use my Simple Scalper Modified chart. And I don't have to look at all that rah-rah mess. Or let's just say you like the web slinger cloud. You can use the cloud, right? Come in here, delete your web strings, delete your EMA crosses, right? And then you can just add your SAR, right? Let's just say you like the cloud and the SAR. You only want to trade by trend. Did it add to the chart? All right, there we go. So let's just say we have a blue candle. Why are these dots so tiny? That's hilarious. so small. All right, there we go. And let's just make it purple for old time's sake. So let's just say you like this strategy. So you would delete the clouds, but look how easy this is to read. Like all you need to look for is a blue candle above the cloud and above the SAR. That's so easy. Or you need to look for a red candle. Look at this perfect sell setup, y'all. This red candle below the cloud and the SAR, right? It's so easy. And we would have just made so much bread off of this. Let's see. All right, we could have made a good $95 on a dollar risk or $9.50 from 10 cents. We literally could have went to bed at midnight, woke up at 8 a.m. and made $95 in our sleep, right? And if it looks like BYOB, it's because BYOB uses similar indicators that are just meant to track the price. Again, you can create your own combinations. I have my own strategies that I like to use as well. But they're on my harmonic scanner chart. So yeah, this is the Liberty scanner, and I just want to show you guys how you can modify it to fit your needs. Let me see if my harmonic scanner is still working since I don't have the FRX package. Do you use an entry point for a trade or just take it? It depends on the style of trading that you want to do, Mindy. If you're going to be trading by time frame, if you're getting it every 5 minutes, you can just take it. If you're going to be doing your analysis and you're going to be waiting, you want to do your markups and you want to wait for the trade to reach that entry point. It really depends on your style. Now, for people who have the FRX package, you can use any strategy on any scanner. It really doesn't matter, but this is the harmonic scanner. Now, I'm just going to load a strategy that I have on here, all these strategies, and I'm going to load HFX strategy. All right, so here we go. So here's another strategy. Well, this is a strategy that I made for HFX because I personally like looking at I just like everything looking just like thick and clear. So for example, if I was to use this strategy that I made for HFX, I would just lower my time frame to 5 minutes and I would just be looking for certain things like, do I see a red candle? Is it under the dot? And is this red? Is this red? I'm pretty much looking for everything to be, why is this acting like this? I'm pretty much looking for everything on this strategy that I made to be color coded because it's just easier. It catches my eye, very simple. And it's just how I can look at the chart. So again, for me, this strategy that is being used is just the volume bars, the SAR, like it's very easy, and it's the stochastic, but I just made it an area instead of a line. So I can clearly look at this and see that's a sell. I see nothing but red. And if I was to look down here, I can clearly look at this and see everything for a buy, right? The blue is on top, right? The blue is literally on top. Green is on top and it's above. And that's just easy for me to see, right? That's very easy for me to see. Look at this perfect setup, y'all. Perfect blue candle above the dot. We got the green and nothing but blue above the red. Like that's so easy for me to look at and understand. And what do I use to mark up my chart? Harmonics is on HFX too. Harmonics is just a scanner. You can use it for whatever you want. That's what I want to emphasize. You don't have to have the harmonic scanner to trade Forex. You don't have to have the Liberty scanner to trade HFX. However, the indicators that they use are preset for that style of trading. However, once you understand the indicators, you essentially understand the strategy, and then you understand how you can look at the market in ways that make sense to you. If that really makes sense, y'all, because I really feel like that was a little confusing, just drop a 1 in the chat. But that's really gonna wrap up our lesson for today. If anybody has a last minute question, I do have about 10 minutes where I can answer another question. I don't understand when you guys say run that back or repeat that because I say a lot of things. You have to be very specific. You're welcome, Doriana. Matthew, what was the last part? I speak so fast and so much, I truly don't know what I said. You got to remind me or jog my memory. What time you mark up your charts? I mean, it's like whenever I log in, like if I was to log in right now and mark up my charts and I was doing HFX, I would not be getting into a trade until 11:05. If I was doing Forex and I was marking up my charts, I would not be getting into the trade until 11:15. So I haven't checked the news or anything like that. But as you guys can see by looking at the screen, if you were to get into an AUD CAD trade at 11:15 is looking like for a sell, on your MetaTrader 4 app. This will be for Forex. It's looking like that will be a go for a sell, right? That will be a go for a sell. If I see this and at 11:15, if I was trading Forex, I would get in for a sell because I have all the confirmations to do that, right? If I was trading HFX. So I don't know why the harmonic scan is taking long because it actually does have capability for the 5 minute and the 1 minute, but yeah, it really just depends on your trading style and how you're choosing to enter the trades and how do you make the SAR bigger. To edit any of the indicators, wait 1 second. 1 second, y'all. To edit, ooh, this is hideous. To edit any of the indicators, you just literally click on them. You click on the indicator that you want, and then the settings will pop up. You never want to mess with the inputs, but the style is how you would change it. The same way that you change the thickness of a line, you would just do it here. You would click style, where the color is, and then just change the thickness. So that's that. So to go back to taking the trade on the 5 minute chart, would you take it? Mindy, I can only answer the question as clear as I can answer the question. And it depends on what style of trading that you're doing. If you're doing HFX and you're analyzing on a 5 minute chart, you're entering the trade every 5 minutes. So that can be as soon as it starts. Or if you're marking up your charts, you're going to wait until the market revisits your entry point. I don't know. If it's clear to y'all what I'm saying, drop a 1 in the chat. If it's not clear, drop a question mark. Because I don't know how, I really don't know how else to say that. Yeah, it really, I can't tell you what your entry point is because it's going to be dependent on a lot of factors. How are you taking 1 minute trades? Are you taking 5 minute trades? Are you taking 15 minute trades? Are you trading in consolidation? Or is the market trending right now? Is it moving fast? Is it moving slow? Like, it's so many factors. It's so many factors, but all right, guys. I am going to post this training in the Money Mantra channel as well as soon as it's done. Hopefully this was helpful. If you guys still have questions, I will be doing another training, most likely Tuesday at 10:15 a.m. I'm going to try to keep up my schedule as much as possible, as long as I'm not literally en route or traveling. I'll still be here to educate and teach. Make sure that you guys are rewatching the videos. If you need to book a private session, make sure that you're doing that as well so that you can thoroughly answer all the questions. But I really do think that the videos and that the live training sessions that we have are really so sufficient. They're so sufficient. But again, if anybody still does need that personal one-on-one attention, you can just book a one-on-one, and we'll figure out what it is that you're not getting. So everybody have a great day, and I will catch y'all Tuesday.